Good afternoon and welcome to our fourth video for our Passover Object Talk series. My name is Eliana and I'm a member of the learning team at the Jewish Museum. Passover is an 8-day festival that celebrates the freedom of the Israelites in the Exodus story of the Torah. Throughout this festival, and particularly during the Seder meal, Jewish people will reflect on this story and its relevance for today. The Passover story highlights themes of injustice, enslavement, xenophobia, migration, leadership, and other global issues, themes which still hold a huge relevance in modern-day society. For our Passover Object Talk series, we are delighted to partner with a range of museums to bring modern-day injustices to light through objects in both collections. For Day 6 of Passover, we have partnered with the Natural History Museum at Tring to shed light on the climate crisis. Before we hear from the Natural History Museum at Tring, I would just like to share an object with you from our collection here at the Jewish Museum. This object is a silver-gilt Passover plate dating back to 19th century Germany. We can see it is elaborately designed. Our focus is instantly drawn to the center of the plate, where it dramatically depicts the crossing of the Red Sea by the Israelites, a momentous and miraculous part of the Passover story. On the outer circle, there's a ropework border. 3 words and images are encased in ropework frames, symbolic of the Passover story. Matzah, unleavened bread, maror, bitter herbs, and Pesach, sacrificial lamb. On the inner circle, we see a Hebrew inscription, which is from the Torah and is also mentioned in the Haggadah, which is the book used at the Seder meal. This text translates as, "And that you shall remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt, and therefore I, God, have commanded you to do these things." These things referring to the 3 primary mitzvah or commandments surrounding this text, Matzah, Maror, and Pesach. This was probably used as a Seder plate, which is used during the Passover Seder meal. The Seder meal happens on the first 2 nights of Passover in the diaspora, and it is a time of gathering and retelling of the Passover story. The Hebrew word Seder means order, since there is a specific order to how we retell the story, and this is stipulated by the Haggadah, the book that we follow at the Seder. The Seder plate holds the symbolic food required to be eaten at specific times during the Seder meal. The crossing of the Red Sea by the Israelites was followed by the destruction of the Egyptian army by the water as it came back together after splitting. This part of the story could be read as a reminder of our current climate crisis and a warning of the dangers of rising sea levels caused by global warming. As well as the traditional symbols used to remember the story of Passover on Seder plates around the world, today, modern symbols have been added to Seder plates in certain communities and households. One of these modern symbols is often a chili, to represent the climate crisis and the problem of global warming. I'm now going to hand over to Nigel at the Natural History Museum at Tring, where he will be sharing an object from their collection.
Hi, my name is Nigel and I am a Learning and Events Assistant here at the Natural History Museum at Tring. Now, this museum was originally built by Walter Rothschild and it first opened to the public in 1892. And among the animals in the collection, there's about 4,000 of them on display. I think that this specimen next to me right here is probably our most iconic. This is our polar bear. It's the one specimen that people are first going to see when they walk into our galleries, and it's the specimen that I think children get really excited about when they see for the first time. So I have here a replica polar bear skull. This is from our handling collection, and this is just to show you some of the adaptations that a polar bear has that helps it to survive in one of the harshest habitats on the planet. So as you can see, they've got long, sharp canine teeth, and they've also got this crest at the back of the skull here, and this we call the sagittal crest. This is where strong jaw muscles attach to give it a very powerful bite. Now, polar bears need that powerful bite because the majority of their diet consists of seals, and seals can be quite tricky to catch, and so they really rely on their jaws in order to hunt. Now, what they also rely on to find their food is Arctic sea ice. And this is ice that forms in the winter months every year, extends out from the polar ice cap, and it means that they can travel long distances in search of food. Now, one of the problems associated with global warming is that each year that sea ice is growing later and later into the year, and also it's not growing as much, there's far less of it covering the Arctic Ocean. Now, the problem with that is that polar bears are having to walk further and further to find their food. They're having to swim large open water distances between ice flows, and what that's meaning is we're finding more and more polar bears that just aren't getting enough food to survive. And another problem with this, it can be felt all around the globe, is rising sea levels. So with less ice forming during the winter months and more ice from the permanent cap melting, it means that the sea levels could be rising, and in coastal areas in particular, communities, especially people living in towns and cities right by the water, could be at risk and may in the future end up being displaced. But what can we do to help? Well, there are a few things that you can do when you're at home to help with the environment. You can do things like recycling, you can walk or cycle to places instead of driving, or you can help to support various conservation charities. And what that can do is it can really help polar bears to survive in the long term. So everyone here at the NHM at Tring would like to thank the Jewish Museum London for inviting us to take part in this project. And if you celebrate Passover, we wish you a happy Passover.
Thank you, Nigel, at the Natural History Museum at Tring, for sharing an object from your collection. It gives us a lot to reflect on. To learn more and support this, we encourage you to explore the Natural History Museum at Tring's social media and website. Thank you for joining us today, and a Hag Sameach from all of us.